it is extremely easy to hide. It comes to a point where you can hide it from the whole world, but the platform is also designed to reel you in, spending out their receptors. And then it takes a lot of time for them to really fully recover.
Water Buffalo TM is back with another Buff Talk.
3, 2, 1. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Oldschoolmatt here. We're back with another Buff Talk featuring the boy Chris Vidal, aka Lapu Lifts. This episode, we're going to be doing an episode talking about dopamine, more specifically activities that increase dopamine. And this is something Chris wanted to talk about. So without further ado, I'm going to let Chris take it away and kind of explain this podcast, and we'll just dive deep into it.
Alrighty, so the inspiration for tonight's podcast really came from just some studies and some videos I've been watching where they're linking dopamine, right? And we all know when we do drugs or we do alcohol or anything of that sort, let's say your doctor prescribes you Adderall or let's say hookah, for example. Like, you've never had hookah before, you have some, you get that little bit of lightheadedness, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that kind of pleasure part of your brain, that's dopamine going off. And you don't realize it, but a lot of times when, let's say, people who nick pen throughout the day, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been there, I'll admit that.
I've been there too.
Yeah. You're kind of depleting your dopamine stores throughout the day, because what you're doing is giving yourself those little moments where you get that, oh, okay, I just did something I wanted to do, and then boom, satisfaction, dopamine. What happens is with the nicotine pen or substance, or let's say scrolling for Instagram, what's happening is that you're kind of artificially stimulating that part of your brain. Mm-hmm. And you're just popping it. And then from there, you're slowly but surely desensitizing yourself to where it comes to a point where you notice a lot of addicts, for example, it's never enough. They always need more. And then, once they need more, the money increases and so on and so forth. But what they're doing is also spending out their receptors. And then it takes a lot of time for them, once they go clean and sober, to really fully recover and then get into a point where, okay, now I can, let's say from life, I do an activity, I did it right, okay, boom. That's the natural flow of things. But when we use these other artificial stimulants for dopamine, we're kind of setting ourselves up for, quite frankly, failure in life.
I agree. I think for the most part, I definitely, we both, everybody partakes in different activities that kind of give us that dopamine boost throughout the day. I think a really important thing that we don't really talk about is eliminating some of those things. And, one of the easiest ones we've talked about before is quit the jerking off. That's pretty easy and fast. I mean, not as easy, but it's like right away. That's a lot of dopamine right there. And if someone's doing that each and every day, that's a big part of, cutting that stuff out. The next thing I would say has to definitely be social media scrolling excessively. I watch YouTube videos every day. I try to limit it to things that are like about working out, about success, about school, or whatever it might be. But recently I found myself that I've been watching more videos that kind of don't have anything to do with my purpose in life. So I've been cutting back on social media. I don't know if you ever found yourself in that type of rut before, but I've recently had myself. Yeah.
I mean, with YouTube specifically, right?
Yeah.
YouTube takes things, it kind of figures out what you like as a person. Mm-hmm. And even if you're watching things that are, let's say we're talking about success and self-development, right?
Yeah.
It's going to go through there, but then the algorithm knows, hey, I bet you this guy probably wants to improve his dating life. And then boom, they put a video, how to get girls, or how to do this and that, and then they got you. And then you start watching that, and then from there, the algorithm knows, you know what? This guy is probably trying to improve his fitness. And then boom, because just like us, or just like you watching this, we're similar, more similar than you think. Yeah. And these advertisements, the people around behind Google, behind Facebook, Instagram, they have all of our data. So they know our tendencies and habits and what we like and dislike. But that's what makes it kind of scary, because they're also aware of this dopamine in our brain and how it works. Yeah. And they've full well designed the app. And this is why I like how you said you should quit that first, because this is way more common than drugs or drinking every day. You mean a 12-year-old Christian girl, she's going to have TikTok, and she's going to be just watching the videos. But these people know about that, and they create these programs and these features, and even the design. The design has been compared almost to a slot machine in the casino of gambling, right? And even them, they design it to get you to keep doing it. It's addictive by nature, right? So you might not realize it, but I don't know how common you hear this. I hear it very commonly where people say, "Oh yeah, I was just scrolling on TikTok for 3 hours."
Yeah, bro, that shit's nuts. I'm not to that level. I get irritated after like 30 minutes, and that's like a lot. I try to save my like bullshit scrolling. I've talked about this before. For like my Stairmaster time, if I'm on the Stairmaster, I'll go on Instagram, stuff like that. But even recently, you know, with some different, I guess, wake up calls in my life, I've realized that I'm spending too much time on social media, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, watching content that's good for you. You know, just tuning into it. Let's say a podcast while you're working out. It's when you're like have free time where you should be doing something else, to where like you start excessively going into like, and I've caught myself doing this plenty of times. Let's just say you see a person on social media and you're like, let me look at their account. And then you're like 36 weeks back on their feed and you're looking at photos of their mom because you saw a photo of their mom or whatever it might be. Like, is that really helping you out? And I question myself too. I get like, I don't get angry, but I get like, I sit there after a couple minutes. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I just exit out. And I can't, and one time is fine, but like, imagine how many times you've done that over your entire life. I've probably done that hundreds, if not thousands of times.
And the apps actually suggest the people right in front of you, puts the ones you are most likely to look through and be like, oh wow, this person's so cool. But you know what's funny? They're not really that cool. They're probably just similar to you. That's why the app has put them there.
100%. Another thing is that when you're on social media, like you said, it suggests a lot of different things that might get you to watch. But like you said, you might be watching a video on success, and the next video is like, you know, how to get girls or top 5 dating tips. And then the next one after that is like, found out mom cheated on my girlfriend with or whatever it might be. And then it's like a prank video and you're like, you know, I'm gonna watch this one. And then next thing you know, you spent 20 minutes on prank videos and you spent 3 or 4 minutes on videos that actually helped you out. That's happened to me plenty of times.
Me too.
Where I've gone to YouTube to watch a specific thing. I have a guy I like to watch my nutrition stuff from, a guy I like to watch my workout stuff from. And then because the YouTube algorithm knows me so well, or knows like my tendencies, it'll have like a video on the side, like let's just say fucking Nelk for easy sake, because everyone knows who. You know Nelk is? No? You know Jay Dijon?
I've heard that name, but no.
I'm trying to think. Do you know any like funny YouTubers that like do funny shit? Cassidy Campbell? No, that's a good thing, bro. Who's your like funny YouTube guy that you watch?
You know, believe it or not, not a lot of my YouTube is humor. I'd say a lot of it's just like self-development. I would definitely say like alpha man kind of stuff, just like,
that's good, bro.
Kind of like just lifestyle coaching.
Yeah, mine is too, but I do have some sprinkled bullshit in there. Like, I'll just throw it out there. Like, there's a new Spider-Man movie coming out, and for like 2 weeks I was real into like the whole new trailer and shit.
Alrighty.
And I was and my whole YouTube algorithm now is like Spider-Man. Yeah, it's nuts.
They're trying to rope you in, like watch the visual comic online or something like that, and then boom, they're trying to waste like 10 minutes of your time.
Exactly. And it's not just 10 minutes in that instance. It's like 10 minutes today, 10 minutes tomorrow, 10 minutes Thursday. And that's a whole hour where I could call Chris up and be like, yo, Chris, let's get some boxing in. Yep. And that boxing is going to make me burn more calories. It's going to make me feel better. And instead I said, hey, bro, I didn't have time this week. But I really did. I just wasted it on like the most pointless YouTube videos. And this is coming from somebody that you might be watching this podcast. You're like, you know, I really respect you, Matt. I like your shit or whatever. I like to respect your Chris's shit. But we all do it. You know what I'm saying? It's everyone does it.
I did it today. 100%.
Yeah.
I probably spent 20 minutes just laughing at stuff you find where it's like, you know how they get me right now? They get me through funny fitness TikToks. So it's like, just like laugh at it. And then it's like, after 2 or 3 laughs, I'm like, all right, put it down. Like, this is not worth my time.
Yeah, it doesn't help when like people, I mean, it's not nothing wrong to laugh. It's just it's so easy to like click on the next thing. And the next thing you know, it's 25 minutes down the road and you're literally like, and I try to like And the thing is that not just me, but everybody watching out there probably knows this. You try to rationalize things sometimes. Like sometimes with me, the red line of like what's good content and what's bad content is like, oh, it's a red pill video. I do something for the red pill community. I can watch it. But is it really making me better? Is it really making me better watching some single mom dance and then some guy roasting her about it on YouTube?
Yeah,
not really.
No.
Another thing is boxing. Like fights, cool. But am I preparing for a boxing bout in like a month? Is it really like, and me watching the old highlights that I've seen 15 times of Mike Tyson or Canelo really gonna make me that much better? I don't think so. So unfortunately, my rule, and Chris knows because I'm trying to like reset a little bit in my life, is like for the next couple weeks I'm gonna be really focus on eliminating things that, and this is a perfect podcast because I'm gonna be eliminating things that are giving me a dopamine boost to kind of give my receptors time to chill out, because I've been over flooding my receptors with dopamine, caffeine addictions, nicotine, endlessly wasting time on social media. And little behold, or whatever that saying is, like you don't know this in the moment, but it's killing your ability to gain pleasure from things that are difficult
and important.
Yes.
That's at least one thing I want to ask you is, what is one...
Oh, real quick, can you move the mic closer to you?
Yeah.
You can sit back, just move it a little closer to you. Just like...
What is one activity that you can kind of just tell everyone watching? What's one good productive thing that you do that you get that kind of, that little whip in the back of your head, like, yes, I did that?
I would say working out. I would say creating stuff for Water Buffalo. I would say definitely speaking to some older people in my family.
Nice.
I don't know about you, but when I call my grandma, and unfortunately I don't call her as much as I would want to, maybe 2-3 times a week, I feel good after doing that. Even like my mom, sitting down with her, I sat down with her today for like 15-20 minutes, and that's so much more productive if it's the right conversation with a family member. If it's bullshit, then it's equally as unproductive as going on social media. But if it's the right conversation, you're talking about like whatever it might be that's good and positive, that 15 minutes spent is way better than 15 minutes of random memes online. And this is not me taking away from people's fun. It's me like exploiting myself, because I do this like a lot. And it's quite frankly, it's kind of embarrassing. When you go back and you go on your phone, you look up your screen time, and you realize, have you seen that before?
Yeah, I see it
6
every
hours,
week.
7 hours.
Yeah, 7
I mean, there was
hours.
times where I was 8-9 hours a day.
Whoa.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Instagram for Water Buffalo a lot, like posting and YouTube and shit.
That's the thing with my thing too. It's like a lot of the time, I know anyone watching this who has social media and that's part of your business, man, it's like you want to do business on that that platform, but the platform is also designed to reel you in.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though you're trying to make content and help other people out with your information, man, it's just, you're literally in the temptation zone.
Yeah, that's why I think like it'd be really cool, and it's never gonna happen, because it's like it goes off the theory of everyone being productive. But I feel like it'd be really cool to have a social media that was like solely for business, which is kind of like what LinkedIn is, and LinkedIn's boring as shit, but like less professional, more skills related, because that'd be really cool. Like it would kind of almost force you to like not waste your time. I mean, because you can waste your time even with self-help, nutritional. Like there could be a moment where you're just going off like 4 or 5 hours of just content overload on stuff that's really great stuff.
Yeah.
But after a certain point, you got to let your brain chill out. You got to let it, like, it's better to watch really good content, informative content, than watch bullshit content. But at a certain point, there's also an overflow of good content you can take in one day.
Especially with self-help. At the end of the day, you got to get out there and execute and try to plan.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, for these, at least dopamine, how it works in the brain, that kind of anticipation and excitement that comes towards doing a hard thing, a lot of times a hard thing might not be like, oh, I have to do this long project. It's like, oh, I'm a little bit shy. I want to go to this dance class. Mm-hmm. When you've already exhausted your dopamine receptors, how willing are you to go and enjoy it? And then when you get there, it's going to be a very new and uncomfortable experience. And if your brain's not primed to fully kind of enjoy it and like be like at the end of it, like, cool, all right, I just did that. I conquered my fears. you're not going to get that same satisfaction in your head when you have conquered your fears or you've done something hard.
You went to that Excel class the other day?
Nope, we unfortunately canceled.
Oh, okay. I'll go with you next time, bro. It was just a little last minute. I think you went the night of my exam or the night I had an exam.
We're going at least next week for sure, Tuesday.
Okay. Just a salsa class?
I think it's beginners salsa and bachata. I have no clue.
Okay. Anyways, going back to the main topic. So we went through, we've done basically a whole podcast about masturbation. So go check out that podcast if you want to learn some tips and tricks on why to get off of jerking off.
Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. That's the main thing is stop it. But we went through some different things about social media. Next, I would say, what do you think the next thing in today's society for people our age, people probably watching the podcast between the ages, I would say 15 to 30, what would you say is the next dopamine booster that we need to get rid of?
I think the two things that we have to tackle is overeating food. Mm-hmm. Food is comfort, and video games.
Okay.
Definitely those two things. I think after what we just talked about, social media, those are probably the next prevalent things, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm a sober guy." Boom.
Yeah.
Let's say they're at home, they're eating crazy amounts, they just feel good about themselves. They're at home, they're either playing games or they're just watching movies all night, and that's their life. And that to me is you're living a druggy life. You just don't realize it.
Exactly. You should have a different drug. So I think we can both agree that video games and movies kind of go hand in hand.
I think they have their place in like small pockets in the week. Like, all right, I've already worked my brain past the point where now anything I do is going to be just diminishing returns. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good time just to recharge and just let yourself enjoy that.
Yeah. I would say for females, it'd be more like the Netflix show type of stuff. For males, it'd be more like the video games.
Yep.
Unfortunately, though, just like social media, it's so easy to hop in your bed and scroll or hop in your bed and turn on the PS5.
Yep.
That it really can eat up your time. If you do the simple math, if you do like let's say you do 5 hours a week, that's 20 hours a month. That's 140 hours a year. That's
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's a small number,
that's
dude. 5 hours a week is
and that's like being very, very generous, because I think a lot of people do way more than 5 hours a week.
Imagine if you did 5 hours of jiu-jitsu a week. You had over 100 hours a week in like some like sport or some craft.
So just think about it. If you really take out the time, it's like 104. Let's just say to be fair, let's just say it's 168 hours a week, which is every year, which is 1 week, 168 hours. If you multiply that by 15 years, that's an entire 3 months of your life that's essentially wasted towards things that will never bring you back anything. It's just wasted towards, and I saw a podcast the other day about wasting, like killing time. I think it's probably one of the dumbest things you could ever say is I'm just killing time, because we're all
I haven't heard that in a long time.
We're always limited to we're all limited to the amount of time on this planet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and that 168 hour number that I was talking about per year is very, very I'm sorry, I'm like completely doing the math wrong. That's 240 hours a year. That's way more than a week a year. That's almost 2 weeks a year. But anyways, you guys get the point. For the most part, wasting that much time out of your life can really have compounding effects to where that's like just the minimum that we were talking about. Like a lot of people do like 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week.
I would say for like, let's say just a full-time adult I'm a gamer, right? Yeah. Man, they're probably putting in like at least 4 or 5 hours a day.
Yeah, I would say like 3-4 hours a night after work.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's nuts.
If they have a girlfriend, you can like 75%, you can cut that out. But
yeah,
if that's not there, then they're just playing games.
Exactly. And unfortunately, like people get into like TV shows and stuff like that too. And like, it's okay, like we said, Chris. And that's why I like movies better than TV shows, because TV shows get you hooked.
Yep.
And you'll be on the TV show, I got to watch the whole season. And that's like 20 hours or whatever, 15 hours.
Yeah.
Gone. While a movie is like, you one off it and then that's it. You know, you watch the movie once, watch another movie. It's like a couple hour commitment. And that's what gets a lot of people. A lot of people get addicted to TV shows and they start watching, they binge watch Netflix, Hulu, and little do you know, they're watching. Have you heard this before? And this is nuts. I've seen the show like 6 times. Have you ever seen that? Like,
heard someone say all the time. Like, they'll just rewatch it.
Yeah, dude, I've rewatched the show like 5 times.
It's like, whoa.
Exactly. And I'm not trying to tell you guys out there that you guys are losers or bums. I've done similar stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's we're trying to break down the components on how we can attack this, because obviously me and you are in a better spot than what we were 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I'd probably be listening to this and be like, yeah, that's me. Or, yeah, I'm wasting a lot of time online. But unfortunately, it's hard to catch unless you are put with the reality of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, someone has to tell you after, let's say, at least I know in my personal experience, I'm sure for you too, living through that kind of binge state of movies, shows, games, and whatnot, someone has to break you out of it and be like, hey, listen, buddy, you're wasting your life. Like, like you really are. And I'll tell you this, if your friends start asking you about shows and you don't know, like, oh, I've been busy at work, this and that, that's a good sign.
Exactly.
Keep it up, man.
It's not a bad thing. Who is the one who, but we'll break off on a digression a little bit. Who's the one who told you that you realized it yourself?
Okay. So, who told me? I would definitely say a couple people told me, but it's really hard because most people I know who have been through this life, they can't leave it. Like, it's just a part of them.
Yeah.
I would 100%. Say a lot of my friends who were like engineers for the university, for example, once they actually got like their real engineering job, from there, like, I was busy with my stuff too, but like they just don't have the time anymore to like play as much. It's impossible. Yeah. Not even every night. Like, no, it's just when I get free time, because a lot of time it's just spent eating, resting, maybe planning something they want to do. But I think as a lot of people get older, they realize like, all right, if I'm going to have a hobby, it has to make me better in some way. And I think this is how people who become successful, they realize this brain chemistry and they're like, all right, maybe I can replace the video game with boxing classes or PT sessions at this gym or something like that. Like, they replace it.
I agree. I think that mine was, I don't know. I think I just realized after a certain point of like, and we'll get into that next part, but after a certain point, if you have some sort of idea of like life, you start to realize like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I realized that this week on another level. Like, for most people, me and you are probably at that 5-10% of like, on the better half of like, we don't really waste that much of our time. But I'm starting to realize that even being in that position puts me 10% behind than the person that doesn't. Because there's people out there that fucking kill it and they don't waste any of their time doing that shit.
Nope.
They waste zero. They do real life things. And I'm starting to realize that the more that I spend time on, and even money on other things, like we'll get into it, like the nicotine, drugs, alcohol, the more money you spend on that, the more time you spend on social media, scrolling, those put together is a lot of your resources, because we only really have time, money, and our knowledge to offer the market. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if you're taking 2 out of those 3 things and putting it towards, let's just say I'm taking $100 a week, spending it on weed, nicotine, alcohol, and then I'm spending 20 hours a week of just random shit on most social media. That's a lot of, that's a decent amount of my resources going away.
You gotta understand, a lot of people also combine these activities.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say for food and alcohol, a lot of alcoholics, they don't tend to be very fit looking because they're comforting by food, they're comforting by the alcohol.
Yeah, I agree. And you hit a good point too. Food, a lot of people have, the comforting in food and finding food to be their source of relieving pain. And that might be a video in and of itself, but on the surface level, what do you think is a good solution to like people that overeat and use food as a crutch?
I think definitely you have to rethink the way you think of food, because a lot of people think of food as like, oh, yummy. My next meal is going to be so good. But there's a reason why it's called nutrition. Your food is fuel. It's your medicine.
Exactly.
Literally what you're eating is going to determine your mood. It's going to determine your blood, your your fat levels, whether you're losing or gaining weight depending on the amount you eat, your hormones. There's so many things that go in. We are what we eat. So when you choose to abuse that part of you and you're just, let's just have pizza dough today and just carbs, 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 there's going to be consequences. Anytime you overdo something, it bites you in the ass and then comes back.
I agree. I think that for the most part, people out there that overeat and have issues with dealing with their foods typically have other issues as well. I think that's not like, I think that's a very end of the road type of thing. Like a lot of people that have food eating problems, that like overeat and shit, typically are also on social media, typically also have alcohol problems, typically also have problems with binge watching, overeating overwatching movies and whatnot. It's sad, but unfortunately, but fortunately, there's a hard road you can go down that will help you, because we see a lot of people that are overweight and have problems with eating, and what do? They get into the gym and then they get better, they lose weight, but what also gets better? Their life gets better.
Yep.
They start getting more motivated. They start losing more desire towards doing shit that doesn't matter for them. You see a lot of people that go into the gym and get in the best shape of your life, and they don't stop there. They level up in everything else. They level up in their work. They level up in their personal success. They level up in their attitude, in their dating. And yeah, a portion of it comes from having more energy from the exercise. But I think another really big thing that's overlooked is that they're creating habits and they're getting out of this perpetual state of, what did we say earlier, releasing that dopamine on a daily basis. I want to have a chocolate bar. I'm going to have a chocolate bar. Okay, I want to have a salted caramel pretzel. I'm going to have that. And it's like overflowing on top of that, masturbating and fucking hitting the nicotine. Your brain is just like, holy shit, like I'm being overfilled with this stuff. So the capacity for me to feel good is so much higher. So I have to do all these things to make me feel good, versus baseline, which is, let's say, 3 years ago when I didn't do any of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but the next thing that we should get into, and I'll let you kind of go off on this while I reset everything else, it would be the drugs and the alcohol, but more specifically, like, I think weed is a big thing.
Giant
and
thing.
Nicotine as well.
These are the two most common forms of smoke that people are really inhaling. Kind of beats it a little bit just because it's more acceptable for work. You can't really test for nicotine in terms of drug tests and whatnot. Or they don't care for employment, so that's usually a very big one. But another thing is that the nicotine doesn't really have the same psychoactive effect as marijuana does. Marijuana is definitely more a heavy duty thing. I dare say even most people who smoke marijuana probably don't do it at work, right? But as soon as they get off the clock and they're rolling up, they're ready.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. The amount of euphoria and dopamine that comes out of smoking weed, for example, I can say this from personal, I can say this from people I know. It's quite frankly too strong. Like, it's almost like a cheat code in a sense, in a bad way. Like, you would have to do something pretty spectacular to feel that good for that long. Like, but it just happens, like, because it's substance, right? Now imagine that, right? You do that, and then let's say one of the things I notice about me is where I get a little bit of a dopamine kind of fix if, let's say, one of my clients says, hey, I've been making a lot of progress, and you can see the progress. That makes me extremely happy. Mm-hmm. And it pops something in my head that beats everything else, but here's the thing. I know for a fact that it would probably be stronger if I'd never touched anything at all. And truth be told, I think for a lot of people, if you've already been inhibiting stuff that day, for example, partaking in, let's say, any activity that spikes your dopamine a lot artificially, you might not notice that moment where you helped out your friend or you spent time with your loved one or stuff like that.
I agree.
It might be a little bit null to you, and that's very scary because, in a sense, it's preventing you from experiencing life the way life's supposed to be experienced.
And a lot of people, unfortunately, I don't mean to get into like murky waters when talking about mental health issues and stuff, but a lot of people suffer from these mental health illnesses. And I think a big reason has to do with everything we've been talking about. I think a big problem with our society is that a lot of people are so used to feeling this over sense of physiological joy, not just emotional joy, but like your brain is literally needs to be at a level of happiness that's impossible to get without all these other things. And I've suffered from, not suffered, but I've had issues with nicotine, not addiction, but like more like dependency when it comes to work. And just being transparent, like it comes to a point where you're hitting the fucking thing all day long, and you're like, I'm only gonna do it when I study. And then the next thing you know it, you're like, well, I think it'll be nice if I do this, when I'm working too. Yep. And then like, what about if I'm doing something for my videos? Let me edit these videos, or let me go out with my friends and have dinner with them. But I'll bring it with me because why not? And the next thing you know, the only time whenever I have had phases in my life where I've started using nicotine a little bit more, or I've using it at all, because I'm an all or nothing type person. I'll either use it or I won't. The only place I won't use the nicotine is in the gym. But other than that, like, it starts with studying, then it goes to work, then it goes to everything else in life other than the gym.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, you can do the same thing with alcohol. Believe it or not, people will be like, oh, I only have a little bit of whiskey while I'm studying these notes. I only have it with this. I only have it that. And then they start pouring the whiskey in the coffee. And then from there, it goes into the little coffee cup. I mean, boom.
A lot of people are fucking alcoholics. We don't even know it.
Oh, because I'll say this from personal experience. It is extremely easy to hide and cover up with eye drops, with showering very well, knowing how to dress. It comes to a point where you can hide it from the whole world, what you're doing with your body and stuff like that. Like, they've already evolved all the products that you need to do that. Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Imagine that. You have to hide from the world because you can't control, this part of you. And that will make anyone sad if you're powerless to yourself and your urges. It's like you have no self-control, no independence.
And that's the thing. That's the reason why I was telling Chris that I recently just got off of caffeine. I don't know for how long. I've done a caffeine fast about a year and a half ago with my friend Chase. And it felt great, dude. For like 3 months. First 2 weeks suck.
Really?
First week suck. Like,
how does it suck?
Not suck, but they're like I was telling you today, I felt pretty good.
Do you just nap more?
Yeah, nap more, and you just feel more like slow. You don't feel like you're sharp with shit. Like, it takes you longer to get into it. But I also found that once you're into it, like I'm talking about work, school, whatever, workout, it gets harder to get out of it. Like with caffeine, I feel like it's like almost instant to where like you take a scoop of pre, take a scoop of buff sauce, and like within 10, 15 minutes, you're like fucking ready to go. But then even with buff sauce, even with any pre-workout, any energy drink, there's going to be some sort of fall off. Yeah. Not necessarily to say that like every time you drink caffeine, you're going to feel like a high and a low, but for the most part, there's going to be a little bit of a taper off. But without caffeine, you feel like it's like a steady incline. And once you get there, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't fall off. Unfortunately, it's hard to get to that slope, but I think within the next week, 2 weeks, I'll be at like 90% of my productivity, maybe even better, because my receptors are going to be filled up. I would say it's been almost a year, maybe 8 months since I've done, I've had a day of no caffeine.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to try it.
Bro, you should. You might drive yourself nuts, but I mean, how bad are you? Addicted to caffeine? We're all addicted to caffeine.
Oh, dude, I'm like a cold brew bandit.
How many cold brews a day?
I mean, pretty much whenever I feel sleepy, I'm just like, oh,
a whole cold brew?
Not a whole cold brew, but quite a bit of a coffee, I'd say.
Yeah, I usually do like I've been doing a lot of at my office. They have a coffee. What's it called? Keg. So I'll do
Keurig.
Yeah, whatever. No, they have an actual keg of cold brew coffee.
Nice.
So I'll do like a cup in the morning when I get there, and then like throughout the day I'll sneak little half cups, and then I don't realize that these little half cups ends up being like two, 3 cups.
Oh wow!
So I'm like 4 cups deep, and then I get home like, I could do like half a scoop of pre. So I do like half a scoop of pre, and then like throughout the workout I'm like clearly fucking overloaded with shit, and I'm like, dude, I'm fucking tired. I'm about to do cardio. Fuck it, I'll do a little bit more. I'll do like a quarter scoop, and then there you go. That's like 600 milligrams of caffeine a day. So no more of that. I'm giving myself a break, and I'm glad we have a podcast where we're talking about this stuff, is because it's making me realize that it's a long term, like, and it could only be a month, it could be 3 months, but it's like more of like a long drawn out benefit. But I'm gonna feel a lot better overall than if I were to just say, you know what, I don't have a problem. I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, right? So, but yeah, no, nicotine is gone. Caffeine is gone for the moment, and I'm
Nick's a hard one, man.
Dude, Nick is so hard
because
to quit, bro.
it's literally in every single corner.
Have you ever been addicted to nicotine before?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean,
You used to hit the stick and stuff like that?
Not for long, but I've certainly number one owned those like pens.
Have you bought them like consistently? Like when you ran out, you go buy another one?
No, I always have one and then I'll stop for a long time because I don't like nicotine per se.
You don't like the way it makes you feel? I fucking love the way it makes you feel.
That's the problem though. I think it's just with the other substance, I just was like, you know what?
Weed.
Yeah, exactly. That one, once you've been through that for a while, your brain kind of just likes that more, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, it's from there, like, I don't like how it makes my throat feel and stuff like
Nicotine?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I used to smoke weed back in college, but I got into it for like 8 months and then I just stopped it.
It's not something I can really do often.
Do you still do it?
Very, very sporadic. I mean, honestly, I haven't done it in such a long time just because with my new work and stuff like that, it's just not. I think it's one of those things where you do it when you're celebrating something or, all right, like, I'm retired. But I think it's extremely detrimental for anyone who's trying to build a business.
Yeah.
Anyone that's trying to basically just get anywhere. Because here's the problem, right? I haven't done it in like at least 6 months to a year because here's the problem. Drug tests. Like, they're everywhere, bro. Like, there's no way you can work for a bank or a company if you do that. And they know. There's really only one thing. I mean, they're testing for other things, but they know the main thing that is going to pop in and they're not going to be able to detect it is a pothead. Because a pothead just has to put in eye drops and then no one will know.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really thought about, marijuana dependency because I never really had that problem. But I did smoke for like 8 months, maybe 6 months consistently, probably like every other day. But I don't know, dude. Weed always made me feel way too high. Like I always felt too high. I just didn't like the feeling of being like out of context with reality. The nicotine was perfect because it gives you a little bit of a head buzz, and I'm an upper type of person. I can't lie to you. That's why I like caffeine and nicotine so much.
Well, you know what?
It keeps you up.
Do you like hookah?
I never tried hookah before.
Believe it or not, I don't let myself have hookah often at all. Nor do I own a hookah for my lungs, but it is really fun to just study and have hookah, unfortunately, because it's super smooth. The way that it's packed.
Does it get you a buzz?
100%. It's better than any gas station pen, even the strong ones. It's literally the ones. It's like, they say one session's up to 100 cigarettes, and that's a bad thing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but
damn, dude,
But it's very. In terms
you have
of
a hookah at your house?
No, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But I will go out to get it, like, on like a date or like stuff like that, like occasionally. Kind of like some dudes have a cigar occasionally. For me, it's like hookah.
I've never done it. I don't want to do it anytime soon, but maybe we can go.
Maybe like after after a big achievement, like, all right, cool, we can do
after
this one
graduate,
thing.
yeah, we'll go.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good mindset to have towards it.
Yeah, for the most part, I would say that's pretty much all the different things that are pretty prevalent in life in terms of dopamine boosters. Do you think of anything else? Maybe going out and stuff like that, but those are like less.
I mean, that's more like drinking. Like, I think going out, if you did it sober, is completely different. I don't even know. I mean, I guess you're there to enjoy your friends fully.
No.
I don't know.
See, that's the thing with me. Like, I can never go out sober to a bar or a club. Like, that's why I don't put myself in those environments. And it's because I have a personality that's very, like, extreme.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately to whoever's watching this, like, when I think about things, I think about them in, like, have you heard of utilitarianism? Like,
I have heard that name.
it's like, it's essentially like a philosophy that decides it's like an ultimatum, basically. So, like, that's how I am in terms of my life. Like, my decisions are based off of, like, what's going to make the best sense for me in totality. And for me, it makes the most sense to, like not go out all the time or not go out at all, because I know if I go out, I'm, like, more likely to go wild than just go and chill. So I'd rather just, like, not do it.
Me too.
And stay at home.
Me too. For me, I know if I go, there's no way that I can't do it right. Like, I have to go a certain way. Like, I have to go wild. If I'm going to go, I'm not going to go 2 free drinks in and just, like, chill and, like, bob my head for a little bit. I'd want to go crazy, but I don't know how much of that is just learned behavior from university days. Because there's literally a whole social structure and system that is alcoholism in a sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It literally is.
I was raised in college by the craziest fraternity, one of the craziest fraternities on my campus, with kids drinking, smoking, doing drugs every single day of their life, sleeping with women every day of their life. So when I go out, I know the dirtiest of the dirtiest. Like, I know, like, I've seen the nastiest of the nastiest girls. I've seen the nastiest of the nastiest guys. I've seen some fucked up shit. And that's why I'm not like against going out. But I know that what's possible. Like, I know I know the ramifications of what it's done to people's relationships, what it's done to people's lives. It's ruined people. Some kids are in my school. It's ruined their life. It's ruined their ability to get a good job. It's put them through thousands of dollars of court fines by getting minor possessions, DUIs, all that shit. Made their life way harder. So I know the shit that these bars and clubs bring. That's why I don't do them. Because I know that if I go out and I catch myself in the wrong spot, you know, whether that be with the wrong person, with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong thing, like, it could really change my life. So I'd rather just stay home. If I want to have, like for example, you were at my New Year's, right, at my house? Yeah. Like, if we want to have a good time, I'll invite people to my house. I can control who's around. Yep. I don't got to get in any problems,
and that's trouble. Like a kind of family vibe, you know? That's, like, more chill. But when you go out to a bar or club, it's super freaking loud. Exactly. Can't hear anyone talk. Yeah. Like, are you really bonding, or could have you guys just gone to dinner and, like, had a, like, nice big bottle of wine and, like, talked about what you're doing in your lives? Exactly. Yeah. No, that's way more my vibe. You know that already. But, you know, if you do catch me out, if you do catch me drinking, other than, like, just drinking the taste and, like, I'll probably be there. Yeah. But yeah, you will be there. But what I'm trying to say is, like, for me, if you catch me with, like, a shot in my hand, unless, like, it's just like a chill one-time shot. Like, normally if I'm going to do a shot, I'm going to be drinking, like, 5 or 6 shots. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not the type of guy to be like, oh, I'm just going to have one casual beer at this bar. It's like, no, if I go to a bar, I'm going to go to drink a lot of alcohol and get intoxicated. But that's why I kind of refrain away from staying in those areas, because, one, I know the things that come with it, and 2, like, I just know that it's not a good spot for me. I probably haven't been to a club in, like, oh my gosh, probably like, I can't even 4 or 5 years. Yeah, dude, it's been a while for me. Probably three years now since I've been, like, in an actual club. I've been to a bar a couple times, but nothing serious, nothing crazy. Something crazy. My dating life improved so much by not going out. Exactly. Like 10 times more. Exactly. Like, just being a normal human being and doing things in real life. Exactly. Unfortunately, like, see, the thing is with me is, like, my girlfriend knows this, that like, I don't, just like how and you should expect this from your partners too, in my opinion. It might be wrong, but whatever. Like, I don't do all these things, or I try to refrain from all these things that boost my dopamine. I expect my partner to at least try to match my energy, you know? Like, if I have a girlfriend, let's just say I'm not dating my girlfriend, I have a girlfriend that I'm off the nicotine, I'm off the caffeine, I don't smoke pot, and I don't drink and go out. And she does all those things. Why am I with that person? Why? First of all, why am I allowing myself to be with them? And second of all, why are we together? It makes zero sense. I can tell you from personal experience, though. can be put right in your lap. Like, oh, let's just go out drinking, honey. Let's go do that, honey. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Like, the people who you let around you will really shape you and really mold your reality. So you got to be very careful, especially with, let's say, opposite sex partner. Like, that person goes deeper than any friends you have. Exactly. Literally, physically, spiritually, psychologically. I mean, it's a very deep thing to be involved with someone. So if they're the wrong person, man, and then if you're trying to quit weed and they're a pothead, good luck with that, right?
Exactly. Your lives are just gonna get fucking, you're just gonna fight and it's gonna be horrible. But for the most part, like, I think we've laid out some pretty good things that people can, listening to this podcast can understand and kind of grasp. Would you have anything else to say on those topics or any of this topic?
I mean, I would just say that definitely the difference between people who are successful and people who are not. I've pretty much seen this trait in all people that are successful, that they have an understanding of this mechanism and they try to leverage it.
What would you say for anyone out there, like in a couple sentences, like how do you get kickstarted with this stuff? How do you stop? Because a lot of times, like, we want to stop, we understand the problem, but we don't really know how to stop. How do you stop scrolling? How do you stop the weed? How do you stop the nicotine?
I would say number one, definitely one at a time, but I would say take out big problems first and then go to little problems after. Like, let's say if you have a problem that I binge Netflix and then I smoke marijuana every hour of the day. Marijuana might be the one to go through first, because let me tell you something. Yeah. If you take that out, when you're wasting your time doing another activity, now at least if you're off that, your brain is more likely to say, hey, what are you doing right now?
Yeah.
And then you go off and do something that maybe you should be doing. So I would say that's the kind of analogy to go for. Go for the big ones, and then the small ones. Then if they're just wasting time, then you can start cutting them out. But going cold turkey off everything, I feel like that's a very quick relapse idea.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that, like we were saying earlier with the overweight person, a lot of times when they attack that big issue of being overweight, overeating, and fixing their diet, a lot of times everything else gets solved.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, for the most part, my advice out there for people would be take into account all the factors that make you do these things. Like, what's your reasoning for doing these things? And if the reasoning isn't, like, you'll know if the reasoning is not solid. Like, if you have some weird reason about why you're on social media all day long, for example, let's say you're like have a social media manager account, that's your job. That's obviously acceptable. But, like, we all know 95% of the time people that do these things that boost dopamine don't have an excuse. It's just us being lazy human beings. So if that's the case, realize that. And like Chris said, I would say, yeah, definitely segment them out. Take the most important one. Maybe not necessarily the biggest one, but I do agree it's a good strategy. But take the most important one, and when I mean most important one, the one that you find most important, which is probably going to be the one that's fucking you up the most.
Yeah.
If you're on social media for 12 hours a day, and you also smoke pot, you also drink, you also overeat, social media is probably fucking. It's like there's going to be a big issue.
It's easy to delete the app though. Just delete it, bro.
Delete the app.
Just delete it.
And if you're not for some reason somehow tied to social media, fortunately but unfortunately, all the business we do with Water Buffalo pretty much is online. So everything we do is tied to the internet. But if you have no ties to social media, delete it if you have problems with it. Like, you literally have no reason to be on it. There's nothing.
You will be happier if you're not on it. I'm gonna be quite frank with you. You will find more happiness in your life if you deleted said social medias. Maybe you can post some stuff, or you have a blog, or you can like send emails out to your family members that really want to see photos. I don't know.
Yeah.
But a bunch of developers who were, this is one documentary on Netflix where a bunch of developers for these social media companies have come out and are now protesting these newer social medias, because they're saying, all right, we realize now what we've done is a little bit unethical. Maybe we didn't understand it fully at the time, but now we've left the companies and we're telling you, hey, there are some people on that show will literally say, hey, you'd probably be happier if you just deleted it, period. Not even limiting it. You don't need to have a profile there, because it's giving you an altered sense of reality.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of like tossing one in there before we wrap up. Dating apps too, it's the same shit.
They're useless, bro. I'm sorry, but like, be honest with me. You're not getting the quality that you really want. You're usually settling for something when you're on there. And this is just looks. Character is like a whole nother.
Oh my god,
that's a whole nother horse to handle. Where you have to understand you're dealing with someone and becoming a person yourself who has said, "Oh, I can't find these things in my real life right now. I'm going to try to shortcut it and find people on the internet."
Yes, unfortunately, that's the most common way people are meeting nowadays is dating apps.
It's the worst.
Me and you both know that like the quality of women out there is so low, and I'm sorry, but people our age, I'm gonna call them girls. Girls our age, the quality is very low. The percentages that are girls that are good, feminine, potential wives for us is very low. And just by going on a dating app, unless you're just trying to hit and quit, the chances and percentages of those high quality women that will be potential great wives has just gone down by like 1,000%. So take that already small percentage, and then take that and divide it by, or multiply that by 0.000001.
Yeah,
because that's how many girls are going to be on. You'll go through 500 chicks that are OnlyFans. Single moms, all this shit, full of tattoos, full of piercings, all these red flag girls all over those apps, and I'm sure you've seen it. You're on it, right? Or you're on it?
I created some for a time just to see, but believe it or not, I didn't choose to meet up with anyone. I just was like, good. You know what? It's probably just easier to just meet someone in person if I wanted to. That's.
Yeah, but like if you go on there, I'm curious to see if my theory is right. But like, I'm not judging nobody. At the end of the day, I don't really care what you do, who you date, whatever. Not my problem. But if you go on those apps, a lot of times you've probably seen it. It's like a lot of crap.
Prostitutes. A lot of prostitutes. A lot of. I would say this: a lot of women with very overinflated perceptions of how beautiful and how good of a suitor they really are. And then the dudes, I don't know what the percentage, I think it was 80 or 90% of the users are men anyway. So that means...
God forbid, my ex-girlfriend's on that app. Someone sent me a photo of her dating profile, or Tinder.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that shows you the quality of woman out there. Just kidding. I'll probably cut that out.
But,
I'm not joking, though.
But that's the thing, right? Like... They're already kind of resigning themselves to saying, "Oh, I need attention.
I'm desperate." That's what they're saying. I'm desperate. I'm desperate for attention is what females on dating apps are saying. Because a lot of the times, I would say maybe 1 out of 20 girls are decent girls.
Yeah. Some are just maybe like, let's say it's useful for that person who's really freaking busy and they're just lazy. They're like, all right, I don't have time to meet people. I'm just going to go turn on Bumble and just let it handle it.
But there's a lot of girls on there with false perceptions of men too. Like a lot of dudes on there are just there to smash. Yep. It's like a lot of dudes on there are there to smash. A lot of girls are on there to finesse these dudes on there. Money, free dates, all this stuff. So it's a finesse fest. There's a lot of dudes on there that want to fuck, and there's a lot of girls on there that want to fuck also, but they also want to, finesse these dudes. And then there's that tiny percentage of dudes and chicks out there that are like, actually, like, you know what? If I find a good girl on here, I'll date her.
Yeah, and there's a number of those people, but they're rare.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's there, maybe 5-10% max, but more than likely you're gonna be dealing with a headache before you get a heart, like a, someone you love or whatever. But
better just to meet someone in person, and then look, you see someone, they're beautiful or whatever, go.
And listen, for all our dudes watching out there, just remember, you keep building your wealth, keep building your capital, keep building your equity. As a man, at the end of the day, if you can't find a woman here, there's plenty of women overseas. You can passport pimp, and you can find a chick to bring back to the USA. I'm not even joking.
Or I'll tell you what, listen, I mean, maybe schedule a session with me or Matt, but upgrade your physique.
Yeah.
One thing I can tell you with these dating apps is that I've experimented through the years of like the progressions of me as a man. Now that I'm older, I've spent more time into my career, my physique and whatnot. Man, like match. You're like, oh damn, like you fit. And you know what's weird? Just back to the podcast. you feel good. You're like, oh,
That's a trick, though.
yep, it's a trick. It's a trick. You're like, oh, I'm a pretty handsome dude. And then after that, I was like, all right, this is so fake. Like,
is done.
this is stupid.
Yeah. Upgrade your physique, dude. Anyone out there watching that's a guy that has a subpar physique, upgrade it. You know, that's if you want a superficial way of making yourself feel good, that eventually will turn into real confidence. Because at first it's all superficial. Once you start getting good looking in terms of physique wise, you feel great, but you don't really have the inner confidence. But after a little while, it starts to transfer into inner confidence. It's like, depends on you, but like, you know, within the first couple of years, first couple of months, you start to develop like an actual real self-confidence. And then from there, you become you realize your self-worth. And then once you realize your self-worth and you realize how important you are to society and how important you are to the world, your life will forever be fruitful, and there'll never be a day where you regret anything you do or regret anything you said to anybody, because you realize that you're a really important person in this world. So, you know, start small, get big, literally get big. But yeah, for the most part, that's my piece of advice. But anyways, anything else you guys say today, Chris?
Nope, I think that's it.
All right, guys, we hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Make sure to go check out all of our other podcasts. Me and Chris have done some great work over the past couple weeks, and we keep hoping to do more. Make sure to go check out Chris's page, Lapu Lifts on Instagram, and just go check out all the other content we have. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and this has been another Buff Talk.
Thank you for having me.